I'll tell you what makes an album one of the top 100 albums ever.
This is it, come on, revolution.
Punk rock.
That music changed my life.
What a perfect day.
Sounds came from somewhere in outer space that came down to my brain.
He is the king of pop.
Well, he's the modern Tom Jones.
It's on my MP3 player.
That's what a classic record has to be. Every track has to stand up.
Definitely maybe, but I like Morning Glory a whole lot better.
Orale, orale.
The White Album, there's a good one.
Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Stone Roses, it's a classic.
Yeah, it's no accounting for public taste, is there?
So cancel that night at the opera, postpone your moon safari and take off that Fleetwood Mac. Get ready to gorge yourself on 4 hours of blood, sugar, sex, magic, pills, thrills and bellyaches. It's going to be a colourful night if you like Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd or James Brown, but bad news for fans of Jason Orange.
Well, let's go.
And we begin our countdown with an album that reached #1 in the UK. And, more importantly, made it socially acceptable for men built like brickies to wear lipstick and eyeshadow.
I'm amazed that people like that LP, really. To me, it's sort of all right, and it's got one good single on it. But it's a bit miserable.
And when it hurts, you know they love to tell you how they want you.
I think the album came out at a time when people had just got a little bit fed up of the sort of the aggressiveness of punk.
What really happened was that you could buy synths, and I think we had the single-mindedness, perhaps the simple-mindedness to just say we want to use those and make a record when almost everyone else was going, oh no, we've still got to have guitars and that, and we were hauled into the Virgin offices and told you must put guitars on this record. And since it was us, we said, oh, yes, sir, we will, yes, and then didn't do it. But that meant that we were the first to just find some of those sounds. We had a bit of a stubbornness, like the sound at the front of Love Action, the cat sound. People would hear it and go, don't be stupid, don't put it on there. And we said, well, we're going to put it on there. And that meant that we sort of were a corner that was turned.
Equipment they used to make it was incredibly primitive by today's standards. There is more power in your digital watch than in the instruments they used to make Dare, but it sounds so modern, so beautifully widescreen. Everything in it is perfectly realised, and best of all, they're lovely songs. You know, Don't You Want Me was a massive worldwide hit, not just because it took the electronic rhythms of clubs out and put them in the mainstream, but because it's a story we all recognise. The story of Don't You Want Me is A Star Is Born.
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I met you.
We're still playing live now, and those tracks still go down fantastically, and we've not really changed them that much.
Don't you want me?
I won't sit and listen to a Human League album at home. My neighbours would think I were really sad. But it's our springboard moment. It's our moment in the public eye that we became vaguely famous. It's what's allowed us predominantly to carry on doing what we're doing now, 24 years later.
At 99, it's the album that made Rod Stewart a household name and spawned his first #1 single in Maggie May.
It's late September and I really should be back at school. There when you speak my name, it's just not the same. Oh, I'm losing you. I don't want to lose you, but I know I just got to groove. Oh, I'm losing you.
Dexy's Midnight Runner Beans. Fantastic.
I don't know how old I was. I must have been about 12 years old, I think, when it first came out, and I remember just loving these guys in donkey jackets and skull caps and moustaches, right? and talking about passion and truth.
Looking like that.
I don't know if we needed to have an us and them attitude, but you can, you know, it's safe to say we had 100% an us and them attitude. If anything, it was our downfall.
One of the hardest working acts around at the moment is definitely Dexy's Midnight Runners, and here they are with their tribute to Gino Washington, their current single, Gino.
I remember we were going down to do Top of the Pops. I think it was probably the first one we were #1. I remember we were going down and we met at Birmingham New Street, as we always did, and somebody was going to buy a ticket, and I went, no tickets. And we did the usual, got the platform tickets, and then Stoker, the drummer, as we were sort of got on the train and then we were going into the toilets, and he was going, Kev, we're #1 in the charts. What are we doing, bunking the trains? And I just went, no, we got to do it, lads, we got to do it. So, I don't know why. Stupid. Couldn't enjoy myself, I suppose. Having made the album, what I think the right thing would have been to do is just put the album out and just, you know, simple. But it was far too simple for us, or for me anyway. I decided to create a big drama. So halfway through recording the album, I think 2 of the band went into CAMI and asked them for a better deal. I don't think we got very far. We decided we were going to take the tapes. Everybody had a specific tape to grab. It was like, OK, grab the tapes, lads. Everyone did. Put them in the van, and the engineer, and tried to close the gates, but I just said to the roadie who was sitting next to me, they won't drive. And he just drove, and off we went. I had him under my bed, I think, for the first couple of days. Then I took him to my mum and dad's place in Harrow, in northwest London, and I hid him under their bed. And then there was all this talk of what they were going to do to us, and in the end, he kind of brokered a deal, and we got supposedly a better deal. Doesn't seem much better, but whatever, you know. The album came out.
Yeah, Dexy's Midnight Runners stealing the master tapes of their own album in a pointless Bonnie and Clyde-style gesture. Bunking the fare to go on Top of the Pops. Pointless, but really exciting. Genuine rebel rock and roll stuff. Bruce Springsteen's never hidden a toilet with 8 men dressed as wrestlers, to my knowledge.
I'm not trying to pull you, even though I would like to. I think you are really fit. You're fit, but my gosh, don't you know?
It's over. Next, it's the man known as Mr. Dynamite, Soul Brother #1, and the godfather of soul.
Sex Machine is largely a live album, which is James Brown's natural medium. I mean, let's face it, you know, he's like incredible live and runs the tightest live ship ever. Musically, it was a complete change of pace between the kind of sort of late 60s stuff that was going on, and it was all quite airy-fairy and psychedelic, and you all having this weird dream and everything. And then, you know, James Brown came along with Sex Machine, and everything was on the beat, everything was tight, everything was together. It's this kind of powerful, driving beat, really, which I think still, you know, in most popular music, we actually haven't lost.
Sex Machine has a magic about it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Get up, get on up.
Such a great tune. It has a great title. It's a catchy title.
Like a sex machine. Get on up. Get up.
And I got good musicians. I mean, if you put them in that zone and they get that feel, a baby can do it if you put them up to it.
Wow, James Brown's Sex Machine. I mean, the title says it all. I mean, how brave was that at that time to call a track Sex Machine? And obviously it caused a lot of controversy. He was an artist who was coming up with tracks that, you know, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And it was at the time of the civil rights movement. And of course, there was a lot of negative connotations associated with being black.
Sex Machine was what many people say, 1970, the beginning of funk. Every instrument he used in the studio, he was using as a rhythmic device. The horns are rhythmic, the organs are rhythmic, the lyrics are just phrases sort of shouted out, really.
What an incredible record to dance to, which I think is so important. Especially if you can dance like James Brown. Ow! Kiss myself.
And at 95, it's the Eagles, a group who proved it is possible to be named after a bird of prey and go on to release million-selling albums.
There is an occasional theme in popular music, which is the American act that has to come to Britain to become known. Jimi Hendrix, the Stray Cats, the Scissor Sisters. It just keeps happening occasionally. And it happened with Blondie. They had been hardcore New York new wave favorites, but they weren't selling records. Then, with the album Parallel Lines, they just kept throwing out hit single after hit single, and suddenly Blondie are in a totally different league.
My memories, I suppose, of being a teenager and going to school discos and trying to dance to Heart Glass, which is still played to death now. It's still quoted by A&R men now, saying, "Can you write a song like Heart Glass?" And you sort of go, no, because it's just such a one-off record. Loads of people have tried to write a song like Heart Glass, but it's you can't beat genius.
Blondie's Parallel Lines is an amazing record, and we were all in love with Debbie, and there wouldn't be any of those other singers without Debbie.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be a Madonna, there wouldn't have been a Courtney Love, there wouldn't have been a Gwen Stefani, and I'm sure they would all be the first to admit it.
Babe, how low can you go? Death row? What a brother know. Once again, back is the incredible rhyme animal. The young cannibal, the public enemy #1. Can you tell that I really never had a gun? Is it the wax that the Terminator X spun? Yeah, that's right. Bring the noise. Know what I'm saying? Revolution will not be televised. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype.
It takes a nation of millions to hold us back, blew the circuits wide. It took something that was very much on the fringe and brought it right smack into your face. And I think it's one of the greatest records ever made.
Made you feel like you were really going somewhere a little bit dangerous. I mean, the record's full of sirens, it's full of explosions, it's full of sound effects and noise. And I never really understood it until I went to New York, and I just felt like I was in a Public Enemy record.
Till we get it right. Radio stations are questioning their blackness, they call us a black, but we'll see if they'll play this. Turn it up! Bring the noise!
We wanted to let people know the feelings that we were feeling, and we was basically feeling shut out.
I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers.
We were shut out of the business. We were shut out of the community. We felt shut out in every walk of life.
Gave a damn about a brother like me and myself because they never.
There wasn't really a national discussion of what black life was about in America. And that's what made me say, like, well, hip hop and rap music is black America's CNN.
I gotta get out, but that thought was thought.
And the title is like, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. A nation of millions of people that's trying to keep us back into the past.
Death row, what a brother know.
I think we kind of made our mark. We paid our dues.
Old man sitting by the side of the road with the lorries rolling by. Blue moon sinking from the weight of the load, and the buildings scrape the sky. Cold wind ripping down the alley at dawn, in the morning paper flies. Dead man lying by the side of the road with the daylight in his eyes. Don't let it bring
Robbie Williams' second solo album after leaving Take That.
You know what? I think we've got all Robbie's CDs in our house, right? He's the modern Tom Jones.
I remember when I first heard I've Been Expecting You, phoning him up and just saying, you know, I've just heard the new record and congratulations, mate. It's brilliant, you know. It felt like his relationship with Guy at the time he was writing, along with, you could hear that they'd found their place and where they were going to go, and they were starting to become a great team.
I met Robbie through my publisher, and we spoke on the phone first, and he asked me if I could write dirty pop, and I said, yeah, I can do that. And as soon as he said that, I knew that it was going to be fun.
This one's called Strong.
Strong was written in a hotel room in Cologne, in our bathrobes. We sort of wrote it sort of in the middle of the night, if I remember rightly, and I was quite drunk.
Bathroom smells like 1,000 bags. When I'm drunk, they'll shake me down.
Robbie used to do that a lot on tour. He'd bang on my door in the middle of the night, and normally it was okay. Occasionally I'd be with my wife, and that wasn't so good.
No regrets. They don't work.
When I heard No Regrets, it was like, oh, this is obviously a reference to the band, you know, which is good. It doesn't matter. The band wasn't all beautiful and sweet and, you know, rosy, and Rob left the band at a certain time and had problems within the band, as we all did, you know, as we all did.
Suppose it's just a point of view.
The whole recording process of I've Been Expecting You, it was pretty tricky. I remember him not wanting to sing being a big thing. He's lying on the sofa just watching the TV, avoiding any opportunity to sing, and I had to sort of persuade him a lot to sing.
I'm so sick of people's expectations.
Can't do it all as Harry Seacombe.
No. How are things now? Well, we don't talk, but I'm sure we will talk at some point. It's just at the moment we don't. But we're both busy doing different things. You know, he's working on his new record, and I'm working with loads of other people, and it's fine.
The formats may have changed, but the thrill is still the same.
The opening track of an album, in the 70s, it would be like a sample bit of speech or an orchestra or something intellectual. What it was this bloke just shouting.
Hey, you! Don't watch that! Watch this!
And you're thinking, watch what? It's an album.
This is the heavy, heavy monster sound. One step beyond!
I'm absolutely thrilled to bits that Madness's opus One Step Beyond has been included in your 100 Best Albums. Partly because it's a great album, and also, actually, we were never really considered an albums band. I suppose primarily because we had so many hit singles.
You put the album on, it'd be a party, and you'd just be off, because you do this sort of dance, which was the moon stomp, which was more like riding a horse, because you'd be sort of doing, it's not really like riding a horse at all, but you'd just be doing this, and after about 10 minutes, you'd be exhausted.
It came out of a period when white people certainly were kind of forgetting how to dance. I mean, there was a bit of disco still going on, but punk had kind of taken over, and people were just jumping up and down willy-nilly. It was time to get them back down to earth and sort of start getting the more rhythmic shape formed. And unfortunately today, people still stop me in the street and go, which wasn't how we did it.
The references are ska and reggae and the whole Jamaican thing, and that great sort of fusion of music, and great 2.5-minute pop songs executed perfectly, verse, chorus out, bit of a saxophone break with a great video. You couldn't really beat Madness Records.
My girl's mad at me. I didn't want to see the film.
Mike Barson, the keyboard player, had just started writing songs, and I don't know if it's the first song he wrote, but certainly one of them was a song called My Girl. At that time, he was driving a Fife's banana lorry around London, and And when he was waiting for the guys in the back to do the deliveries, he'd sit jotting down ideas, and he'd had an argument with his girlfriend the night before, and it was literally what had gone on in the argument.
'Cause everything I say, she doesn't understand, she doesn't realise.
Mike used to sing it, and that would be the bit in the set when I'd have a cigarette and I'd play a bit of percussion or something, and Mike sang it. But when we came to recording it, the record company didn't like the idea that maybe the keyboard player was singing one of the songs they thought would be one of the biggest hits. It was a very delicate situation where I got sort of shoehorned into singing it, which was uncomfortable because, you know, it was Mike's song and he'd been singing it for some time.
My girl's mad at me.
But the premise of the band was always our friendship would come first, and then we would work out how to make a career out of that.
What's green and got 6 legs, and if it falls on your head, it'll kill you? Pool table.
And it was great fun, it really was great fun.
All you kids out there, welcome to 3 Feet High and Rising.
De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising totally flipped the script on what people thought hip-hop was about.
Greetings, girl, and welcome to my world of phrasing right up to bat.
These guys, hippies. The cover with the 3 of them with flowers around it and everything. You were like, this is as far removed from as you could possibly imagine.
Better for this than plug one.
It's a happy rap record. It's not slagging off women or going on about their big cars or anything like that.
May I cut this dance to introduce myself as the chosen one to speak.
We had some things that kind of touched home with a lot of people. Fans got into rap behind 3 Feet High and Rising. It's because it was something genuinely they could relate to, you know, that brought them into the culture, as opposed to the flossiness, I'm hardcore, or I'm the baddest rapper out.
How are you doing, contestants?
All right.
We just loved all the skits. We loved the quiz show where he's going,
So, fellas, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Contestant number 1.
We pretty much finished mixing the album, and just thinking like, yo, maybe we should have something to like thread the album together, like keep it connected. So I was like, yeah, like a game show, right?
Now that we know the questions, we'll let the contestants think them over and we'll return right after these messages.
Yeah, let's try it. So I was like, no, don't try it. I was only joking. He's like, nah, let's try it. So you mind up making a game show.
Quelle heure est-il?
Il est midi. Everyone else was sampling pure black music. These guys were sampling all kinds of different acts.
Écouter et répéter. You try to do silly things to see if it really was going to work. It's almost like being in a kitchen and let me put caramel with bananas and Coca-Cola and see if someone would drink it. Like it was like musically like that.
Quelle heure?
3 Feet High and Rising was basically sold off of word of mouth. Was people telling each other how incredible this record was. Just changed hip-hop.
Il est midi. It was just amazing that our thoughts and our personal beefs or pleasures could really inspire someone else. And that's the greatest thing to me about 3 Feet High and Rising.
Our next album title also doubles up as a cunning allergy warning. It's Dusty in Memphis.
Would you still care or would you promise?
At the start of her career, Dusty Springfield makes sort of quite brash, bubblegumish kind of music, both with the Springfields and then on her own.
Would you be there?
But by the sort of mid-60s, in Britain at least, she's seen as more of a cabaret kind of artiste. She's being pushed in that direction. Her American label obviously realised the quality of her voice is such that you know, she can support a soul album, which wouldn't have been thought of, I think, by her English label. So they pack her off to Memphis to make a soul record. Incredibly brave move, and one that must have seemed at the time quite an odd thing for that sort of star to do. No one packed Cilla Black off to Memphis to make a soul album.
There was a preacher's son, and when his daddy was visiting.
Dusty, I liked her voice. Son of a Preacher Man, I thought was like one of the greatest records ever made.
He would take me walking out through the backyard. We go walking.
The only one could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. And I just thought that was great.
The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man.
When she went to Memphis, she was extremely aware of the people that had preceded her, and the idea of standing in the vocal booth and thinking that, you know, Otis Redding had stood here, Aretha Franklin had stood here, Wilson Pickett had stood here, etc., etc. I mean, it was just overwhelming to her. She just thought, you know, I'm a little white kid from England. I shouldn't be here.
Her singing on that album is just absolutely incredible, because she found a softer tone in her voice. She wasn't doing this great big diva-y thing. It's much quieter and intimate and deeply soulful.
When Dusty first brought the album back and was playing it to us, I mean, it was amazing that she did play it to us, because she tended to, once she'd recorded something, that was it, finished. Didn't listen again. Yes, she had to go and promote it, etc., but you'd never hear it playing around the house. But she played it several times when she brought it back, and just was really thrilled with it. I mean, thought that she'd done a good job. Of course, she always felt she could do better, but, you know, really was happy with it.
Virtually ignored in his lifetime, yet 30 years on, he's got a single in the charts. He's the English singer-songwriter Nick Drake, and since his death in 1974, he's been undergoing something of a renaissance.
Time has told me you're right.
I do think that Nick Drake has become such a cause célèbre. There's a danger of there becoming a Nick Drake backlash, I think. People say, come on, he wasn't that special. He bloody was, you know.
For a trouble.
I knew Nick was making a record, but I had no idea what stage it had got to. And I remember him coming into my bedroom one morning, loping in as he did, 6'2" of him or whatever it was, and with that particular sort of shy smile on his face and sort of saying, "Here you are." And he threw this record down on my bed, and it was 5 Leaves Left.
Famous but a fruit tree, so very unsound.
Nick's records didn't sell at all, and he was desolate about that. I mean, he was absolutely desolate. And he didn't like performing live, so it was difficult. I mean, I saw him live. I thought he was good live, but he kept putting his head down so the microphone was there, and so he never sang into the microphone because he didn't like to look at the audience.
Gonna see the riverman.
Last time I saw him was about 3 or 4 weeks, I think, before he died. I saw him in Holland Park, and he looked like Howard Hughes. He was all hunched over and absolutely filthy. I mean, just filthy, with huge long fingernails. And I stopped in the street to talk to him, but we didn't talk. He obviously was past talking.
About the way his river flows.
I think my parents wanted to think that it was an accident, really, but I've always found comfort in feeling that it was something he meant somewhere. And I felt that somewhere his work had come to a conclusion.
I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm going to Graceland. Poor boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long lost pal.
At 83, a record now considered one of the defining albums of the late 60s. But Love's Forever Changes was a slow burner, which didn't even reach the top 100 when it was released.
That LP is just unbeatable on so many different levels. I would vote that #1 LP in any survey.
On the surface, the music sounds really beautiful and pretty, but when you listen to the lyrics, he's talking about the evil, the violence. He was not happy, Arthur Lee. He was not happy.
Sitting on the hillside, watching all the people die. I'll feel much better on the other side.
Those were my last words to this earth. I was going through a period of growing up, a young man, 21, 22 years old, and I was thinking about death and all kinds of crazy things.
I've been here once. I've been here twice.
Here was this group who were coming out of the sort of innocence of the flower power era into something a little more unhinged. Arthur Lee caught that very well in this record.
And if you wanna count me out.
Back in the hippie days, it wasn't love and with the peace sign and how corny can you get. That wasn't my trip at all. You know, my trip was telling the truth on my records about my surroundings.
Throwing away the key. I wonder who it will be tomorrow, you or me.
A Love Supreme is a poem, is a prayer, is John Coltrane's offering to God for it's thanking him for allowing him to get off heroin. He was a heroin addict. It's one of those records that rock musicians would have this in their collection, you know, not just jazz musicians.
Well, I'm a big Coltrane fan, and I do like Love Supreme. It sounds something really positive about it, and sounds like a sort of beautiful spring morning to me. That's how I sort of think of it, really.
It begins very gently and lifts you up. And then towards the middle of the album, you get some of the most blistering acid house passages that you can possibly imagine. It's very much a journey.
It's not an ecstasy concept album, no. It's just a document of what primary school were doing at that point in time. You know, it's just like 11 songs that we had that we...
As we continue with one of 2 film soundtracks in our list.
I thought that the Bee Gees were girls. That was my first impression when I listened to the record.
Some people have implied that your high voices, coupled with the long hair, shirt open to the navel, revealing hairy chest and medallion look, suggest that you're somewhat less than masculine. What do you say to that?
And then was told they were boys, and I thought, wow, they're boys that sound like girls. How incredible is that? Let me look at them. And I looked at them and thought, oh God, they're so ugly. And I went to see the movie and I thought, thank God they're not in the movie.
John Travolta in that film is an absolute hunk, and he's got a lovely little peach bum in it. And I've learnt loads of the dance routines from the album. It's just brilliant. I love it.
Night Fever is a wonderful song, and I think the Bee Gees are one of the best songwriting teams ever.
People are inspired, I think, by the look of the film, but you can't actually dance to a film, you know. And so Saturday Night Fever was the record that got the British male onto the dance floor, for better or for worse.
Welcome to Romeo and Juliet here in Doncaster for the EMI Yorkshire television final of the Disco Dancing Championships.
Sometimes, every few years, there's a record that's so big, it owns the world. And for a period of time, Staying Alive, Night Fever, How Deep Is Your Love? Everywhere.
How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love?
And it killed that phase of the Bee Gees' career, because when music moved on, the Bee Gees had been so identified with disco because they were the giants of that moment that it killed them for a few years.
Yes, I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. So you think that you love me? No, that you need me. I love the song. I know it's wrong. Just let me go.
Previous to what's going on, albums weren't particularly important, singles were always important. But what Marvin did was to make the album important within soul music.
Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. Like a head trip to listen to. Cause I'm only giving you things you joke about with your friends inside your living room. The only difference is I got the balls to say it in front of y'all. And I don't gotta be false or sugarcoated at all. Cause I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. I don't know, it's just the way I am.
They're like the only arty band that ever like made it big time, kind of.
Talking Heads have a new album. It's called Fear of Music.
No one's that arty and that big. No one. I can't think of anyone.
The title Fear of Music came from some reading that I was doing about various kinds of phobias. There's some people who have to live in places where they don't hear music. You know, car radios and whatever. They just can't deal with it. It makes them kind of sick to their stomach. Of course, I thought that was incredibly amusing. So I thought it would make a good record title. I didn't really have a formula for writing, so I would try different things at that point. I had one of a kind of prototype Walkman, and I had some lyrics, and I would just speak them, and then I would kind of exaggerate the phonetics, and exaggerate them more until it got very kind of ridiculous. He feels humiliated. But I thought, okay, I'm trying to find the natural melody that's inherent in the syllables. I might have denied it at the time, but kind of looking back on it, it does have a pretty dark and sort of paranoid feel to it, the whole record. There's a song called Air, I think, that's one where it seems obviously paranoid. The singer, myself, is singing about how air can hurt you and people don't realize how dangerous the air is. And it's not a song about pollution. It's a song about just being afraid of air, which is like being afraid of it's like being afraid of being alive. I have no idea why people think it's a great album. It doesn't seem like a particularly good date record. It's not really the kind of record you put on in order to get a girl into bed. If anything, that's going to scare her off.
It doesn't hurt me, but you wanna feel how it feels.
Kate Bush, she's actually one of my favourite singer-songwriters. I think as an artist, she had a sort of quirkiness about her that was, I think, quite, very inspirational in a sense.
There's some pretty innovative stuff on that album. She sets out to create a mood, and she does it exactly the way she wants to do it, and she does it. She's never been swayed by the fashions around her.
The joy of Kate Bush is that she's always been a very experimental musician. So in about 1984, Kate Bush decided to invest a large amount of her royalties into converting her parents' farmhouse into a recording studio. So she kind of pretty much customized her own setup so that she would have that freedom to explore the ideas that she was interested in for this record.
Sounds of Love, especially for the time it was made, is quite amazing, really. She ought to get around to making a new record. She's worse than me, and that's saying something.
And if Kate and Jarvis weren't bad enough, here's another artist who doesn't rush out the releases. Stevie Wonder took over 2 years to record his classic, Songs in the Key of Life.
All that's born is new, you know what I say is true, that I'll be loving you always. Until the rainbow finds the star in the sky. Always. Until the ocean covers every mountain high. Always. Until the dolphin flies as heavy in the sea.
Odolé! Should we just say that together, ladies and gentlemen? Odolé! Odolé! Oh, sorry.
Odolé. One of the songs we were working on the record, at the end, I started singing, Odolé, Odolé, and then the engineer, when we were mixing it, wrote down Odolé.
Odolé!
It's actually O-R-A-L-E.
Once again, Odolé!
So it sort of haphazardly became the album title, Odolé.
Exactly, I think that's the name of the record, and that's the name of the band, Beck.
Odolé really proved Beck's a creative talent, mix up all kinds of genres and styles and flavors into this amazing pick and mix collection.
There's no real actual band on the album. We weren't working with that kind of structure, where you have the bass and the drums and the keyboard, and they're all set up. We had a different kit of tools. I'd find some instrument at a second-hand shop somewhere and bring in, and we try to make a song out of it. Pulling old records off the shelf, listening to records, and there was a random element that you could throw in a little piece of music that was intended for something completely different.
It just takes you in all kinds of directions. He drops in 5 seconds of Schubert in the middle of this. It's just out of nowhere. The record's just full of surprises like that.
Then a lot of it was also very off the cuff and ad-libbed on the microphone. The cover of the album came from a dog book. I came on this picture of this dog jumping over a hurdle with the impossibly long hair. And I remember us laughing. I'd be in hysterics. And we were trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do for the record cover. So then I thought, why don't we try this?
1, 2, 3, 4.
This part of the show comes to the end of the line with tracks from an avant-garde act from Dusseldorf. Kraftwerk have influenced generations of electronic pop and dance musicians, but are so reclusive, it's said that even their own record company don't know their telephone number.
Kraftwerk, they were very into the Beach Boys. And what they liked about the Beach Boys was that when you heard a Beach Boys record, it sounded like California. So they thought, OK, well, we'll do something that sounds like Germany.
We are standing here, exposing ourselves. We are showroom dummies.
And they looked like Teutonic Bank clerks, but they liked discos. And they'd hit upon this idea of making machine music.
Trans-Europe Express.
Trans-Europe Express is a kind of onomatopoeic record, really. It sounds like a train journey, Trans-Europe Express.
Trans-Europe Express.
It has the bravery to almost replicate some of the monotony of a long journey. Till something else interesting happens, but I quite like that.
Meet Iggy Pop and David Bowie. Trans-Europe Express.
The importance of Kraftwerk can't really be overstated. Making music with these machines, you know, without drummers and guitarists, it was revolutionary. And now, that's how 99% of pop records are made.
Next year, Kraftwerk hope to eliminate the keyboards altogether and build jackets with electronic lapels, which can be played by touch.
I was lucky enough to work with Karl Bartos from Kraftwerk. He told us that their telephone had no ring in it, no bells in it. So if you wanted to call them at the studio, you made an arrangement to call them at, say, 4 o'clock on the dot. And then you call them actually on the dot, and Ralph Hutter would just pick up the phone and say, hello, yes, because they had this thing about noise pollution. Any unattractive sounds was considered noise pollution.
So, we'll take the hint, turn down the volume on this part of the countdown and prepare gracefully for some more classic albums after the break. Welcome back as we continue our countdown of albums in a class of their own.
Mistakes, misfits. We like to go to town, but we can't risk it all. 'Cause they just wanna keep it. I felt that for a long time in my life, I've been a product of Thatcher's Britain or whatever. A lot of people were made to feel very worthless.
Brothers, sisters, can't you see? The future's owned by you and me.
And so when suddenly we started selling some records and stuff, I thought, this is it, come on, revolution. Let's do something. It was exciting, you know, you felt like things could change. It's difficult because if you write songs about social things, you can produce really, really horrible music. In fact, you usually do. My excuse, I suppose, was that I always tried to base the songs on actual events.
She came from Greece, she had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture at St. Martin's College, that's where I...
Common People's about a girl that he went out with at art college who thought he was great because he was working class.
She told me that her dad was loaded.
I think it's about the fetishization of working class culture, which was all over the place at the time. Jobs Cocker was one of the people who kind of stood up and kind of saw straight through it and saw how fake that was.
The good thing about writing songs is that you can alter real events and make yourself look better.
I wanna sleep with common people like you.
She did say that she wanted to live with common people. That much is true, but she never wanted to sleep with me. In my dreams.
We're born within an hour of each other. Our mother said we could be sister and brother. Your name is Deborah.
Disco 2000, that was the true story of this girl who lived down our road who was born in the day before me.
And they said that when we grew up, we'd get married and never split up.
And I really fancied her at school, but I had no chance.
Although I often thought of it, oh Deborah, do you recall?
I'm really pleased that people have a soft spot for that record. That's the best thing about getting featured in something like this. It means that in some weird, random way, you are connected with people in some way. And I find that quite touching.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think Elvis is probably the first exciting performer to come along. I think he created more excitement than anybody before him. I think it turned a lot of adults off. They thought he was too sexual, but I think it turned the kids on.
The Sun Sessions always comes out in polls as the best Elvis album, but he never recorded it as an album. It came out in the 70s as a collection of the tracks he had recorded for Sun before he joined RCA. So you have 2 years of songs on this one record.
Baby, I'm like, baby, I want to play house with you.
Elvis had decided that he wanted to use a facility that his local recording studio, i.e. Sun recording studio, and he decided that he wanted to go in and record a track especially for his mum, Gladys. Now, the receptionist sort of caught wind of this performance that was going on and was pretty blown away by what she heard. So she kept aside a cut of that acetate, which she then played to Sam Phillips, the owner of the studio. Boom, the rest is history.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do.
Sam Phillips knew what he had, he knew what he was doing. And critics have always preferred this material because it's made before the self-conscious period of Elvis Presley recordings. You can listen to it now and still think this is a miracle.
At 67, the second of 2 movie soundtracks in our list, and one that many say became more significant than the film itself.
Don't forget, you know it's to a dime. The game it plays for keeps. Hustling times and ghetto streets, trying to get on. That's what you're trying to do, y'all.
This is a song that isn't really finished, you know. It needs another verse to it still, but it's got a little bit of it there, and when I go home late at night, this is a song that I really like to sing right now, so I'll play it for you. It's called My Old Man.
This album, Blue by Joni Mitchell, is something that I grew up with, and I just grew to love it. I mean, I can sing it from start to finish.
My old man, he's a singer in the park.
She did something with her voice that nobody else did. She was totally unique in her style, the way she used her voice like an instrument. She sang low and she sang high, and she just made you feel incredible.
Keeping us tight and true no more.
You introduced me to that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's a beautiful record.
Even though I'm not a Joni Mitchell expert at all, and I wasn't around at the time, I just fall completely in love with the Joni Mitchell that exists in the lyrics of Blue. I just think there's such a beautiful honesty to it, you know, almost.
And now, a treat for police fans.
Synchronicity by the Police really was the album that took them onto the world stage. Probably Britain's biggest pop group throughout 1979, 1980 and 81. But it was Synchronicity that took them from being the biggest band in Britain to probably the biggest band on the planet. It also was the album that precipitated their demise because it was the last album they ever made.
When we recorded Synchronicity, I think we were pretty sure that it was going to be a big hit because we were a huge group already. And I mean, we were there in the Caribbean and Montserrat Air Studios and had that sort of luxury. We could afford that luxury because we knew that we were pretty sure to get, you know, a multi-million selling album. So we thought it was going to be big. It was kind of incredible while we passed through that moment. But, you know, I think it took its toll, you know, and, you know, by the time we recorded Synchronicity, we were sort of in a nuclear fission state. Favourite songs on the Synchronicity album? I mean, the obvious one that everybody loved was Every Breath You Take.
Every breath you take.
I think I can say this because I guess it's pretty, you know, well-known history at this point, but Sting had, you know, divorced his first wife, and it was really a song about sort of paranoia and suspicion, and that he felt that he was being watched. It wasn't the love song. There's a sort of a double interpretation to it.
The song is called King of Pain.
We probably gave Sting a bit of grief about, you know, the King of Pain. Ooh, Tucky. What it's about, I have no idea. Pain, presumably.
The odd thing is, I suppose, that it's such a vastly successful album, and you expect them to immediately start trying to capitalise on that a little bit, and they don't. It's just deathly silent, you know, which obviously we now know is because the band had broken up.
I was sad, of course, you know, and, you know, very, you know, sort of psychologically shattered, you know, for a while after we did break up and after the Synchronicity recording, because, you know, we'd come off such an amazing high, and then it's what, and now you can adjust to reality. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, which station are we on? Very difficult. You know, of course it does, you can see that I'm completely normal, so we got there.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry.
Play is a very inventive record. The idea of taking old blues and gospel samples and surrounding them in these sort of almost metaphysical sounding electronic soundscapes it's a great idea.
Alan Lomax is considered America's foremost folklorist. He collected music all over the American South, from the prisons to the work camps to tobacco fields.
Way down yonder, sometime below the law, sometime broke from marriage, sometime.
They're incredibly affecting songs, especially Vera Ward Hall's song, Trouble So Hard.
Don't nobody know my trouble but God.
And it's a very, very intensely moving song about the plight of a black woman in the American South in the 30s and 40s. And that became Moby's natural blues. When people talk of musical theft, the counter to that is that potentially people who are going to hear these things and go, what is that, where does it come from, and investigate that kind of music in and of itself. So that's a good thing. The Moby album has served these purposes very well for us because it has brought in so many royalties that we can then pass on to the heirs of these artists. We send them checks, they're happy to hear from us, and they're very happy the Moby album was out.
Songs just come out of poems, and sometimes poems come out of dreams or reality.
I think the Jeff Buckley record, Grace, is it's on my MP3 player, and it holds up incredibly well.
There's no asking to stay long enough for the clouds to fly me away.
Jeff Buckley was an American singer, songwriter, thinker.
Tremendous talent, with an immense potential, and possibly in possession of greatness, of true greatness, and really only recorded one finished album, which is called Grace.
Jeff loved music, I think, from the time he could hear my piano through the wall of my belly. I was a piano player, still am, and I know my belly pressed against the fingerboard for the last 2 months. As an infant, he reacted to music in a very interesting and precocious way. And then as he grew up, he was, in his own words, enchanted by it and captured by it. And it became the most important thing in his life.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you?
My favourite moment from Grace, would have to be definitely Hallelujah. I mean, it is such a special song.
Composing hallelujah.
So many of my friends have told me that, they cried when they first heard that song, and I'm definitely not an exception to that rule.
The night of May 29th, 1997 was the night before Jeff was to begin recording the second album, long-awaited second album. And they had rented mattresses for the floor of his little rental house and gotten ready for the band to fly in. They were actually landing at the airport when the accident happened.
Just after sundown last night, detectives say a friend saw him jump into the water fully clothed. He never resurfaced.
We've got some witnesses that heard someone apparently hollering for help.
The search began within 20 minutes after. And it was 11 o'clock my time when I got the call from the police. I didn't believe them. It was impossible to believe. I packed a suitcase with a bathing suit. I was sure they were just looking in the wrong place.
Good love from going wrong. But tonight, you're on my mind, so.
If he were still with us today, he'd be much bigger than he is now. He would have met and touched and performed before so many more people.
It's not too late.
There have been some great threesomes in the history of rock and roll. Cream, The Police, Rod, Jane and Freddie. And at number 60, it's a classic by perhaps the best of the lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, wham bam, thank you, The Jam.
Where the streets are paved with blood, cataclysmic overtones.
I was a very serious-minded young man, And I took my art and craft very seriously, as indeed I still do, I suppose, but even more so then, I didn't know how to lighten up at all. It was just...
There's a neighbour in Water Street.
All My Cons was our third album, and we'd made 2 records. We made 2 albums in the first year we'd been signed in '77. The first one was fairly successful, and the second one was pretty much a disaster. So the third album was a little bit kind of make or break.
If that album hadn't hit, that would have been the end of the Jam. That would have been it. I'm pretty sure the record company would have dropped them, because there was that feeling that they were finished.
We started work on the records, and I only had a few songs, all of which were awful. And luckily for us, our A&R man who signed us, he just came in one day and said, listen, this is shit, and you've got to start again, or you've got to have a rethink on this, literally just that. which was great. It was good that someone had done it, because I was thinking it, but no one had the balls to sort of say it in a way. Or we had nothing else to go to, you know, we had nothing else to use anyway.
He went back to Woking, his kind of spiritual hometown, as it were, and he played a lot of Kinks. He was listening to a lot of Ray Davies.
Take my exams and pass the lot. Wish I could be like David. Wish I could be like.
And I think it was there that he kind of got the idea of updating the Kinks sort of perspective and started writing songs about what was around him, which was suburbia. And when people out there heard these songs, which reflected their lives really, you know, in a poetic and very kind of concise manner, that's what catapulted the Jam into, you know, into their position as a premier band, and they were for the next 3-4 years, really.
Distant echo of faraway voices, boarding faraway trains.
All My Cons was the album that really kind of made everything blow up big for us, and the audiences got bigger, I think, around that time, you know. But I don't think, I never certainly had any long-term vision. I mean, I had this, I always thought, you know, being in a band was what young people did. It's probably true, really.
It's a bit like being in a goldfish bowl, you know, like sort of like the kids out there now. I can't handle that. And I can't handle sort of hysteria.
I don't know if there was ever a really happy relationship in our band. I mean, we had our moments. There was a lot of tension in our band, you know, but there was even before we made it. We were very, very different characters, which I suppose all added to the kind of intensity overall, in a good way, in a positive way. So when we got on stage, it was like, you know, bang.
At 59, it's Hello Elton and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, a double album that topped the American charts for 8 weeks.
I liked Elton's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road because I thought it was a very versatile album. I thought he had a very clear and exciting and nice voice, and I think he had a little sense of humor in his voice.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is sort of the high watermark of his productivity in the early 70s.
Those around you crawl.
This is a guy who's been sort of unsuccessful for a considerable length of time in the 60s, has kind of struggled, has seen his chance at fame and is absolutely determined to seize it.
Candle burned out long before, legendary.
He was, of course, a great and is a great character. At the time I drew him for the cover, he had a streak of bright pink dye in his hair, which was considered quite something at the time. And also, when I was at the record company, listening to the tapes, and we were discussing the kind of images we might include on the cover drawing, people would say to me, oh, could you include a piano? Elsie loves pianos. Oh, and could you put in a teddy bear? Because Elsie's really keen on teddy bears. Now, at first, I had no idea who Elsie might be. I thought it might be the tea lady, but of course, after 10 minutes of this kind of conversation, I realised Elsie must refer to Elton.
Wow, yeah, what a great record. It completely defined a new sound, combination of lounge music, electronics, and this beautiful French harmonies.
When I discovered the whole record, I didn't expect it to be so consistent, because that's what a classic record has to be. Every track has to stand up, and there can't be any room for throwaway tracks. Moon Safari definitely does that. It's beautiful, emotional music.
It's just amazing, especially as they did it in their front room. They did it with no money, and you can actually hear the children playing in the school next door on one of the tracks. Because they were recording the piano and they had the window open.
When it was first released, it was seen as this very kind of spacey, sort of quite avant-garde record. And it's been used so much as like sound beds for property programs, gardening programs, and holiday programs.
In a way, it could be associated with that whole kind of retro, mellow kind of thing that was happening at the time, but the songs were so good that it'll transcend that moment, whatever was fashionable at that moment. It's a great shagging record as well. I did a lot of shagging to it.
Sign of the Times. Now this is an absolute smasher of an album. If you check the lyrics of Sign of the Times, you know, it's like a social commentary.
From Prince to another songwriter who knew when the times were a-changin'. Bob Dylan and Blood on the Tracks is at 55 in our countdown.
One day after I had, a friend of mine calls me up and said, Holly, turn on the radio. They're playing a song about you.
Just a perfect day. Drinks.
I love these photos from Mick Rock.
That photo, Lou wasn't shot for the album cover. The back of the cover, conceptually, was originally going to be the front of the cover. The gentleman on the right was actually the art director, a guy called Ernie Thormelin. Ernie was enormously popular after that, but that actually was a banana wrapped in a sock, literally, because I saw the wrapping going on, and I remember the very good-looking banana that they wrapped up for it.
At 53, not so much a movie soundtrack as a rock opera that became a film, as well as a Broadway musical.
He's a pinball wizard that has to be a twist. A pinball wizard's got such a submarine. Oh, listening to you, I got the music gazing at you. I got the heat following you. I climb the mountain, I get excitement at your feet.
I always say it's impossible to remember how bloody awful the early 70s were. Anyone who says they were anything but utter shite, it was the most dreadful period of crap, overblown, shite music. It was ELO writ large. Patti Smith's Horses was the first breath of fresh air.
Redondo Beach is a beach where women la fada.
The glory of Patti Smith's Horses is you've got a New York poetess playing at being a rock star. By 77, 78, she was a rock star playing at being a New York poetess. But that first moment is fantastic.
I'll a kiss, Mr. Death. I'll a kiss, Oscar Wilde.
It's the record that really got me writing. It really got me writing lyrics and really got me writing songs.
Time is now. The time is now.
I played it to death. I was on a kibbutz in Israel, and we only had one record to play, and it came over from America.
White, shining, silver stud.
I must have listened to it 100 times in the 3 months I was out there, or more, and it got me writing.
I
think without Patti Smith, there would have been no Smiths. That's without a doubt. Because I knew through friends that Morrissey was a Patti Smith fan before I approached him, and I knew that we had that in common. So I knew he was going to be all right, and that we'd be able to do something, because if all we did was sound like the Patti Smith group, that would have been a pretty good start.
There was a lot of pills, there was a lot of thrills, there was a lot of belly aches. It was really what was going on at that time, and when you think about it, pills, thrills, belly aches, great title for an album.
I have no doubt that Sean's behaviour, the drug myths, having your photograph taken in a jacuzzi with 3 tarts, has stopped the middle-class wankers that we are really accepting that this is one of the great 50 bands in the history of British rock and roll. It's hard to imagine that he writes the most amazing poetry.
Twisting my melon, man. You know you speak so hip, man. You twisted my melon, man.
I've tried to explain to him that he does. Oh, fuck off.
I don't want to hear that crap, because, I mean, it's absolutely bogus.
Kind of like street poetry, really. That's the way I look at it. And it's just describing what's going on. It's talking about our experiences and lives.
I felt it would be the right thing to do as the producer was to get out of England. You've got these crazy characters that you've got to get a record out of.
It's like the height of the Mondays. We just felt like it could never end, and we was buzzing our socks off, going to sock parties. One of the funniest things that happened in LA was when Julia Roberts tried chatting us up.
The thing was, I remember Beth coming over to me in the club saying, "Who's Julia Roberts? Who is she?" I said, "Right, you know when we watched that film about the chick who chops off with a geezer with the big car, pretty something, yeah. Right, well, you know the chick, yeah, well, that's it. Fucking hell, right. Why? She's chatting me up." I said, "Right, man." You know, so he said, "Right, I'm off."
A year later, the Monday said we're going to Barbados because there's no smack on Barbados, and didn't check and find out that it was Crack Central, which was a bit of a mistake looking back on it. Thanks, guys.
So we're now halfway through our quest to find the best set of songs ever recorded. Find out which of these stars have made the top 50.
Welcome to the Hotel California. 'Cause I gotta have faith. Just Marshall Mathers. Never mind.
Welcome back to the 100 Greatest Albums, as we kick off the second half of our countdown with an instant modern classic from the Libertines.
I like the Libertines a lot. They're the only band that ever have managed to generate that devotion between a band and an audience since Oasis.
I guess one of the real big attractions of the Libertines when they first came out was the relationship between Pete and Carl, the two frontmen. But the Libertines as a record is a really sad record because it absolutely documents the falling apart of Pete and Carl's relationship.
I'd take you anywhere. When you're recording an album about things which is so close to your heart, then there is an element of catharsis.
I think we kind of sung the lyrics and didn't really. We both knew what they were about, but I don't know if we really admitted that at the time.
By the time this album was being made, Pete's drug addictions had got really out of hand, and he'd been in and out of jail and accused of burgling Carl's flat, and had been in and out of rehab, and it was just an absolute mess.
Although I was always adverse to what heroin and crack do, I kind of turned a blind eye to it. Well, no, I didn't turn a blind eye. I tried to address it with him, but I'm sure he convinced me that, you know, that it was within his stride, and it was he was using it rather than it taking control of him. I always said, you know, there's no one on this planet who's bigger than that drug. That drug's always going to be bigger than them. But yeah, I do believe I tried everything really to stop it taking hold, but I don't know, for better or worse, it didn't work.
Stay with me forever, but all the highs and the lows and the twos and the throws, they left me dizzy. Oh, won't you please forgive me?
I think they must have had mixed feelings when the album became successful, because I think it went to #1 like the week after they'd kicked Pete out of the band or something. It was very, you know, very close together and very mixed up in all that horror that was going on at the time.
I never said I split the Libertines up. I said, oh well, put it on ice, is what I said. But yeah, I mean, that's what I need to do. I don't believe in breaking up Libertines, but I believe in keeping promises. You know, I'll always be a Libertine. I've got it written on my arm, so what's choice, really? But no, I mean, that's just a reminder.
Usually when I'm looking back on my career and thinking about records like Doolittle, I think, should we see if we actually are owed a substantial amount of money? That's what I think about when I think back on 1989.
The Pixies really began that whole grunge thing that ended up with huge bands like, you know, Nirvana and all those other bands at the time. But the Pixies started it all and were much better than most of the bands who kind of became commercially more successful than they were.
He's got this insane scream, which there's no one else can scream like him.
My musical training was a church choir. It's not quite rock and roll, but it's a racket. They make a joyful noise. The singing and the preaching and the praying, and then the Pixies were born out of that.
Back as a pop songwriter, really, he's great. But then him and his band of weirdos twist those songs in their own unique way.
Big shake on the box, come moving. Big shake to the land that's falling.
Hopefully, you know, if you're lucky, you can make one Doolittle in your life. You make one good record, you're kind of in the club, kind of. That's kind of like the lifetime membership of the club.
Velvet Underground, they kind of, in a way, could be considered as the coolest rock band of all time.
Just a restless feeling by my side.
It's one of my favorite albums ever. And even though the production on it is pretty shabby, really, it's an extraordinary sounding record.
It's just the way.
The album was essentially made in 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that, very, very quickly.
Really original things that introduced really sort of risque themes into pop music, which haven't been done before, you know, like Venus and Furs, that's all about S&M.
Shiny, shiny, shiny boots of leather.
Started to explore this whole dark side that hadn't really been done before.
The thing that was interesting for me was all these topics that were in novels weren't in songs, and I thought, this is so simple. There's no one doing this at all.
Downy sins of streetlight fancies.
With sex in a very subversive way. It created incredible thoughts in your imagination. It made your imagination utterly pornographic.
There's the classic quote about that album, which was that, you know, if only 60 people bought it, all those 60 people then went on to form great bands.
I'm waiting for my man.
I first picked up the guitar. The first record I ever played along to was Velvet Underground. I picked up my old Attitude guitar and found one note on one string, which I could pluck along in tune.
Up to Lexington, 125. Feel sick and dirty, more dead than alive.
For many years, many people thought that the Velvet Underground Nico was a record by Andy Warhol because Andy Warhol's name was on the front cover. It's the only name on the cover.
Well, since I don't really believe in painting anymore, I thought it would be a nice way of combining, and we have this chance to combine music and art all together.
White boy, you chasing all women around.
Andy's so witty and funny. I mean, it's a peelable banana, and when you peel the banana, there's this pink thing under it. So it was so hilarious.
It was very rare that art ever entered into pop culture. That marriage hadn't occurred until Andy Warhol stepped in. It was the beginning of art becoming fashion.
I'm a starter, twisted fire starter. You're the fire starter, twisted fire starter. Smack my bitch up.
May I introduce to you now the 4 young men who call themselves The Clash, Mr. Joe Strummer, Mr. Topper Headon, Mr. Paul Simonon, and Mr. Mick Jones. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this.
My vote for the #1 record, #1 out of the top 100 would be The Clash, London Calling. It's a great fucking record.
Do you prefer to be identified not so much as a rock and roll group, but as a news-giving group? Why?
Well, I don't know, maybe we just... too many songs have been written about love already, you know? Subjects covered, you know.
London calling through the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down.
London Calling, funnily enough, was voted Album of the Decade, the 80s, by Rolling Stone magazine, even though it was released in 1979. And I think what captured everyone's imagination about that album was the fact that no longer we were just talking about like punk power chords, but they started to embrace all these other musical genres, particularly reggae, funk. There's a bit of jazz in there, and I think that's what really made the album stand out. It's a solid piece of work.
London Calling was produced by a wild man named Guy Stevens, and he was sort of a method producer in a way. He tried to get into their heads in order to get more spirited performances. He would throw chairs around the studio.
The chairs that I'm talking about are things that you guys like this with. You know, when you think about your...
He would intentionally make them mad at him so that their performances would be more defiant, more angry.
They just made great music. And the artwork, again, the artwork of London Calling,
Paul Simonon smashing his guitar, and it was based on an Elvis Presley album cover, London Calling. It was just great. When you're 14, 15, 16, that's like, wow, that really kind of spoke to me.
You make me young, you make me feel that spring is sprung. Every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual.
You just write about what you see and what you feel, and that's what I do, you know.
With Exile on Main Street, it's proper white soul music. It's as, you know, close to real soul music that any, you know, five-piece white geezers are ever going to get to.
Yeah, well, I've always felt more sexual than political, you know. I could never get that worked up about Edward Heath, you know.
I think Exile on Main Street is, you know, the Stones' greatest hour because it's the Stones at their most sort of raw and laid back. It's this loose, easy rolling jam session in the basement of a chateau in the south of France.
I heard that the Rolling Stones were leaving England to stay in the south of France. I asked them if I could do some kind of feature on the Rolling Stones. And it was, you know, just one endless party. During the night, you had a little rhythm and blues band, the Rolling Stones, playing all night long, you know. It would take a week to record a song, which means that they would play something like Tumbling Dice from Monday 6 o'clock in the evening to Friday 6 o'clock in the morning. I remember one morning Keith left the basement around 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and he went to the terrace and lay down on the waterbed and fell asleep. And his hand was still playing the guitar. He was like a dog sleeping and dreaming of chasing a rabbit or something like, you know what I mean?
This one is the next single. Some message to you, rude boy.
The Specials LPs, it's special, you know what I mean?
That album, first album, and brilliant. I mean, Terry Hall, genius.
Stop you messing around. Oh.
It's where I started to learn, where I learned to dance in the style I learned to dance in. It's my rude boy dance one.
When we started recording the album, it was a typical sort of late night drinking album. Punctuality wasn't our greatest asset really, but I was always very keen because 2 years before that I was on a building site and I think the only ambition I had was to cut hair. Not on the building site, I wanted to get off the building site to cut hair.
Well, Elvis Costello produced that album, and I think they really captured the sound, which is very unusual, to capture the sound of what it was like live.
I don't think I'd ever met a famous person before. We met Elvis and then we'd be in the pub with him and there'd be sort of crowds of people crowding around staring at him.
There are songs on the album. I remember I like playing live. Like Nightclub was always pretty good. Nightclub captured, I think, what we were about, and it was raucous and everybody was drunk, and to me it captured what Coventry was about.
And my favourite line in that song is, I won't dance in a club like this.
All the girls are slugs and the bed ties just
I don't like that line.
I love that line. I love that line because it's like we do say those things as guys, you know, as guys get together, you know.
You're not too much too young. You're married with a kid when you could be having fun with me.
These are the tapes that people send us. As you see, we've been inundated.
State of his flat.
It's all right.
It's maybe only in the last 2 or 3 years I've become aware of the impact that the first Specials album made, and that's by meeting other musicians who reference your album as an influence. Bands like the Libertines and Blur, and it's rewarding. It means that people listened and took something from it.
Welcome back as we get closer to the peak of the best albums ever made. And next, confirmation for our younger viewers that Ozzy Osbourne did indeed make records before he became a TV star.
I think it's true to say it was probably my first musical job, tuning car horns at Lucas Car Factory.
The first time I met Ozzy, he was a nutcase.
Nobody wants him.
The very first gig we did, we were so bad, the guy refused to pay us, and the guy had a brand new Jaguar outside, parked outside, and Ozzy climbed on top of it and did a huge dump on the bonnet. He's the only person that can dump at will.
That's true.
Yeah.
We were in the studio and Roger Bain, the producer, said, we need 5 minutes to finish this album. Just jam something. Tony come with the riff, Bill did his drums and whatever. I come with the melody, Geezer come with the lyrics.
Literally had about an hour to write it and record it and everything else.
Geezer was one of the greatest lyricists, you know. I mean, I'd sing his lyrics, I didn't even know what the fuck he was writing about. They sounded good.
It's just about depression, really. You know, I always felt like I was being paranoid about it.
Can you help me occupy my brain? And the album, the original title was going to be called Warping. But if you look at the cover, it's got like a guy in a pink leotard with a shield and it's kind of blurry.
The record company were too stingy to change the artwork. And we went nuts. You know, we can't put that out. It's horrible. It's not a very good piece of art. We just went ahead and put it out anyway.
But we started to get invites to play at black masses, and I thought this is a wind-up.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
One trouble we did get was somebody tried to sacrifice Tony, our guitarist. He jumped on stage with a massive big dagger, and just at that moment, Tony's amp blew up.
Well, what do you do to relax? Smoke marijuana.
You were joking when you said that, of course.
Yeah, right.
So we just lived it to the full, and like as much dope that we could get down us.
Why am I alive? I don't know. I've taken more poison than a fucking venomous snake, you know, but I'm still here. But I'm not proud of the fact that, I'm not condoning the use of drugs because I don't do it anymore. I'm quite the gentleman, who say these days. I'm still fucking crazy, you know.
The 70s is the decade which has spawned the most albums on our list, making up 35 of the top 100. But here's one of 8 from the 21st century so far, The White Stripes.
I'm gonna fight 'em all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. Them that's got shall have, them that's not shall lose.
Lady Sings the Blues is an album that Billie Holiday recorded toward the end of her life, and it's very interesting in that it returns to songs that she'd made famous or that she'd become known for. And there is this sense that here's someone looking back on her life.
That's got his own money. You've got lots of friends.
I guess the other really significant factor in Billie Holiday's life, and sadly one of the things that she's famous for, is for her addiction to heroin, which absolutely ravaged her as a human being, and certainly you can hear it in her voice by the time this record's made.
And now a little tune written especially for me, Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit was written initially as a poem by a Jewish guy in response to photographs that he'd seen of the lynchings that were so prevalent in the Deep South in America.
Southern trees bear strange fruit.
A lot of the places where Billie Holiday was touring in that time, if you went down south, just to even ride down south, you had these issues of whether or not you were going to get to the next destination alive. So then to be known as somebody who's protesting long before protesting songs were popular or allowed. Very brave, very brave.
From the poplar trees.
And now it's finally time to reveal the album that's made the prestigious number 36 spot on our list.
Blur, Park Life, Blur and Park Life, Blur, Park Life, Blur.
History is made tonight.
Park Life wasn't obvious that it was going to be such a successful record.
What do you say? We've run out.
But good singles, good haircuts, the magic formula. At that time, British music had really lost its identity. It was only really American bands that were being written about in the papers and being shown on the telly.
There was a certain sense of wanting to capture a little bit of British, dare I say, London 1960s pizzazz. The idea was to make each song pretty individual and stand out in its own little way.
It was great for me because, you know, being an actor, it was all very different, you know, winning awards in rock. I could go and get smashed for a few days and then go home. A bit of fun, a bit of rock and roll, being a part-time rock star can't be a bad thing. Think about leaving the
It was brilliant to have an actor in the band, because it is a little story, the song, isn't it?
I remember being pulled up by Noel and Liam in a toilet once and said what was I doing hanging about with those wankers. So I'm saying, no, leave it out, boys.
Now this is the most famous cake in rock and roll history, baked by a young chef called Delia Smith. So let's be having the Rolling Stones at number 35.
This great album, Closer, the great post-punk
gothic guitar band of all time, the great Ian Curtis's Joy Division. That whole experimentation with computers transforms modern music.
They created bleak cityscapes of the future, and Ian Curtis, the singer and lyricist, he mined these terrible troughs of depression.
I never realized the lengths I'd have to go.
Ian seemed happiest when he was sitting on the floor in this blue room to write the lyrics with his cigarettes and his notepads and a very strong coffee. He really lays himself open in that album.
Look beyond the day in hand. There's nothing there at all.
The fact that Ian had tried to say goodbye 3 months earlier with pills, I think we all assumed, obviously wrongly, it was a cry for help, and in fact it wasn't. So that's how fucking stupid we were.
It's what can you say to someone when they've gone? You can't. You can. It's no. You can be. Well, I felt very angry, but there's no point. There's nowhere for the anger to go.
I remember when Tony phoned me to say Ian had died. Once I'd kind of got over the shock, it came to my mind fairly quickly that I'd put a headstone on the cover, which is quite eerie.
It's unimaginable how far Joy Division could have gone. Absolute disaster for British rock and roll. Such a short period of creativity.
He had a philosophy that anything you want, it wasn't a matter of having the right breaks. All you had to do was to keep trying and keep on and on at what you wanted to do. So I don't know how it would have felt to achieve exactly what you wanted so soon. It's a pity Ian didn't find another goal. You know, you have to have a quest for something, and I think somehow he ran out of the quest.
I may not always love you, but long as
Pet Sounds is the high point of writing and production career of Brian Wilson before the drugs took their toll. This guy was a genius. He says he was just a hard-working person. But no, you have to have genius as well.
As a result of the so-called British invasion of the United States in 1964, the Beach Boys were kind of sidelined. They found themselves in a competitive position once again against the Beatles, and it was a very difficult yardstick for anyone, really. And whereas a lot of groups would have given up, it actually brought out the competitive spirit in Brian Wilson.
I heard Rubber Soul one night, and I was so blown up by Rubber Soul. I could not believe what a great album it was. And I went to my piano, I said, I'm going to write an album just as good as Rubber Soul. So I did work with Tony Asher, and we wrote Pet Sound.
Well, in 1966, I had been working as a copywriter in an advertising agency for perhaps about 3 years, I expect. And I was at a recording studio recording some jingles, which I'd written for Mattel Toys back in those days. And Brian was there recording some demos of some songs he'd written. And we bumped into each other in the hallway. Hadn't ever met before.
I said, are you poetic? He said, yeah. I said, would you work with me? He said, yeah. So we got together and worked.
It was an amazing experience. I had trouble believing it when it first occurred.
When I showed them Pet Sounds, they said they didn't like it. They thought it was too advanced. It wasn't like commercial enough. I said, yeah, but we need to grow musically.
It was so much different than Surfing USA and Help Me Rhonda and California Girls. It's so completely different. I was thinking, whoa, what is this going to do to our fans? I mean, are they going to understand this?
The boys were in the booth, and Brian and I and some other people were in the recording studio And I heard comments about, you know, these crazy lyrics, what are these all about? So part of the reason that I didn't go to more sessions is because I just didn't want to sit and hear that.
Did they warm to it? After a while, it took them a couple weeks to get used to it, but they liked it after a while.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he blew our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. It's all.
I've done everything humanly possible to ban this thing and to stop it.
Well, it's lowering the standard of our people in Capilli.
For many people, it's a bigger threat to our way of life than Russian communism or hyperinflation.
We never set out to shock, just people found it shocking, and a lot of things we had to say was just the plain, honest truth.
The Sex Pistols did become public enemy #1.
These groups would be vastly improved by sudden death.
John got beaten up and in fact he got attacked with a knife.
You see a guy in the corner of the eye looking at you and smack on the head and you're falling on the floor and smack and kick in the stomach.
Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. That movement in music changed my life. It felt so in the moment, and like nothing that has come before this now matters.
The greatest album of all time is one that should inspire people to form bands, which this did, thousands and thousands of bands. If it wasn't for Never Mind the Bollocks, it would be quite a scary place, I think, England, musically.
What sort of future do you see a band like the Sex Pistols having? I think...
Look, you know, just tell us. That's where the phrase came from.
That said it all for me. Never Mind the Bollocks is a Sex Pistol. And then they took it to court.
Virgin, being very canny and having one eye on the publicity, hired a lawyer who managed to argue the case that bollocks was an 11th century word that referred back to the clergy.
That proved that it wasn't a swear word, and it was fucking great, man.
The amazing thing about Never Mind the Bollocks is I listen to it now, and it sounds like could have been recorded yesterday. It's an amazing record.
I think Britain's crying out for another Never Mind the Bollocks or another Sex Pistols very heavily, but I can't see where it's going to come from.
I remember listening back to it and thinking, yeah, you can sing now. That's proper singing.
That's what a classic record has to be. Every track has to stand up.
He is the king of pop. This is it, come on, revolution.
That music changed my life.
What a perfect day.
Sounds came from somewhere in outer space that came down to my brain.
We used to modern Tom Jones.
It's on my MP3 player.
I'll tell you what makes an album one of the top 100 albums ever.
John Lennon, Imagine, is a fucking classic album.
We did it in Ascot, in a studio that we built right next to our kitchen.
This is actually a Beatle wife fixing the tea for one of the about 4 ex-Beatles.
It was a very happy time for us both. And, but even in the very roller coaster life that we had, we were always very, very hardworking, and both of us were workaholics, and always kind of like inspired each other.
So what's going on, Tony?
They're improvising.
Okay, stop improvising. And just keep it solid.
John and Yoko were a fantastic couple. I can always say that because I loved them. To see John happy was very important to me.
She's a lovely mother to me, a lovely mother. I don't know what I'd do without her sewing up my fly, you know.
This real hurt man who slowly was finding grips again. And most of the people think Yoko spoiled the Beatles, and that's not true. Yoko is a really important part, and what she's meant for John and what she did for John, nobody can really measure. When you hear a song like Jealous Guy, I still feel like now I feel the way I was sitting there and feeling great. I didn't know what key I was playing, and I didn't even what notes were coming out of the instrument. I just heard John's voice and I heard him play and felt good. Everything was perfect. And that atmosphere I will never forget.
It was the first album I bought because I was 14 years old or whatever, 13 years old. And I think Imagine was on the radio. I just liked the sound of it. And I loved the fragility of the arrangements, which were all mainly just him on piano and Yoko sparking up jazz woodbines in the background.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
When Imagine was that song, when it first came out, I think most people thought, well, what are they talking about? Well, what are they doing, you know? Now, I think that people want to sing that song.
Imagine all the people sharing all the world.
Some people say, how can a man who is so rich and has everything he needs write Imagine? Is he lying or is he not really straightforward? And those people didn't get the point. The point is that John got the money, yes, but it doesn't say that he doesn't feel like everybody else.
And the world will live as one.
Coming up next, it's the Top 20.
We didn't want to be like the greats. We wanted to be great.
Kurt Cobain was known for putting the word yeah into his songs a lot, and one of the things that I think I was doing with Man on the Moon was trying to write a song that had more yes in it.
Somebody said it to me on the phone one morning. What's the story, Morning Glory? It's an absolutely appalling title for a record. Appalling.
Welcome back as we start to reveal the 20 albums that received the most votes from Channel 4 viewers. And at 20, it's the first of 2 appearances from Queen. Though all fans of the royal family should look away now.
And here's another world exclusive, your first glimpse of the new Smiths LP, The Queen is Dead.
And if they don't believe me now, will they ever believe?
We were being compared to the greats. We didn't want to be like the greats. We wanted to be great.
Oh, no.
So when the time came to do The Queen is Dead, I did feel the pressure, but it worked.
You had Morrissey with his lyrics. There's no one better than him lyrically. And then you had Johnny, who would prepare these great kind of multi-layered kind of guitar parts. And so the two coming together just created something which was completely original.
What used to happen with the Smiths was that I would give Morrissey a cassette of the music and he would go away and very quickly get the words and the vocals together.
We were hearing vocals for the first time on the songs when we actually were recording them in the studio.
Sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you shouldn't be bludgeoned in your bed.
Well, everyone would just be going, did you just sing that? And it's just like, I can't, that's fantastic.
I know it's over, still I cling. I don't know.
With I Know It's Over, when Morrissey put his vocal on, and it was just perfect. It was like someone painting the picture for you. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment for me.
Oh, mother, I can feel the sorrow falling over my head.
Like a lot of our stuff was very poignant, on the edge of sadness and downright despair.
Take me, the knife wants to slit me. Do you think you can help me? Sad veiled bride, please be happy.
The Salford Lads Club picture, well, that was Morrissey's idea. Freezing, wet Manchester Wednesday morning or something. I was just dying to get back inside the car, as you can see. Just sort of hid behind the others.
That's the pub who saps your body, and the church who snatch your money. The Queen is dead, boys, and the
It's become quite an iconic thing. Although I think the band at that time, had we been, stood outside of Tesco's, that would have been iconic.
And the church, all they want is your money. The Queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a
Who could underestimate the importance of Are You Experienced? I mean, that record is literally a trip.
So refreshingly great and new. It still sounds fucking the same.
Chas Chandler, a guy that used to play bass with the Animals, discovered Jimmy in America and brought him over here. And when he got him over here, to begin with, of course, there was no money in the pot. Chas didn't have any. Jimmy certainly didn't have any. No one had any. And it got to the point where Chas had to sell his own guitars to raise the money to fund the first recordings.
The Wind Cries Mary was based on an incident that happened one evening in Montague Square, a flat that Ringo Starr had let us borrow where we were living. I was cooking some food and Jimmy came along and started interfering with my cooking and criticising it. And I ended up throwing the pots and pans and the plates at him.
From the broken pieces of yesterday's life. Somewhere.
And then, of course, he watched the television, and they used to, when the television finished, there was a little girl with a jack-in-a-box and a clown. And if you look at the words of the song, when the jacks are in the boxes.
After all the jacks.
So the words all sort of married into to what actually happened.
Or just the end of time.
He wrote so many songs that no one's heard. I used to throw them away in the bin, or jottings on the backs of paper napkins and backs of envelopes, all over the place.
Now the drugs don't work, they just make you worse. But I know I'll see your face again.
Every now and again, something comes on and it kind of rocks the planet.
Led Zeppelin 4, a fine record indeed. They created this thing called rock music, really. I mean, they really invented rock.
Led Zeppelin 4 is definitely their best album. Rarely in the history of music do you get albums where pretty much every song is amazing.
Black Dog was on it, and Stairway to Heaven was on it, and Four Sticks was on it, and Going to California was on it. And it's just a great record. In the sort of late 60s and early 70s, people start developing a mythology about rock music. And one branch of this is this notion that if you play records backwards, there are secret messages hidden within them. But you see, that's all gone now, because CDs are out. You have to buy fancy CD players that you can go backwards on, won't you? just to see what it says, but it doesn't say what it says. People are always looking for some cheesy Satanism or that, but no, it wasn't. They were just the best rock band of their time.
Our first album sold 22 million for a debut album, which is like amazing.
Alanis Morissette did a lot in a sense for the female voice in rock and pop. She was being actually valued for musicianship rather than prettiness or sexuality.
The opening songs on the album where she's dissing off a boyfriend. If I'd had a row with my girlfriend at the time, she'd put that album on really loud, you know, in the background, and it was like, yeah, I knew I was in trouble.
If you're looking, I suppose, for a root of where all this angst comes from on her album, there's this sort of secret key to what she's so annoyed about. If you let the CD play, you come to this secret track. Oh, I went into your house and you weren't there, and I went through your stuff and found a load of letters to somebody else that wasn't me.
It's an honour and a pleasure to introduce the next band. They are the band of the people. They are Oasis.
Somebody said it to me on the phone one morning to me, hey, what's the story, Morning Glory? I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I have no idea what it means. It's an absolutely appalling title for a record. Appalling. I don't actually have any of my own records at my house. I don't listen to them. I hear Champagne Supernova now and again, and I love that. Roll With It is appalling. Wonderwall. Yeah, you could do about 50 million versions of that and they'd all be great. You know, it's just a classic.
The stars, look how they shine for you. And everything you do, yeah, they were all yellow. I wanted to say, don't you shiver?
Tasty little medley for you.
Blimey, getting sick to death of Bohemian. Fucking Rhapsody.
We're going to start off with a little segment from a number called Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh dear, Bohemian bullocking Rhapsody.
Mama just killed a man.
Just joking.
Put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead.
We'd just been recording Bohemian Rhapsody, so that was really where the album title came from. We were watching A Night at the Opera on videotape, which was a brand new innovation. It would have been the drama and over-the-topness of opera, which would have appealed to Freddie, yes. A Night at the Opera, wow, perfect.
As a 7-year-old, Queen are the one that really stood out to me. Night at the Opera is just brilliant. It just always reminds me of my childhood, in a sense. And I grew up in Georgia, which is an ex-Soviet country in Eastern Europe. Back then in Georgia, there was literally no legal CDs or music being sold. It would have been bootleg. So, yeah, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that.
Too late, my time has come.
The thing about The Night at the Opera that is so good is that it has everybody's personalities from Queen. You've got Roger Taylor being, I'm in love with my car.
I'm in love with my car.
And then you've got John Deacon just being absolutely lovely, singing You're My Best Friend.
Ooh, you make me live now, honey. Ooh, you make me live.
Which is just one of the loveliest songs ever. And Brian May's kind of going through some weird Spinal Tap thing. Absolutely over the top.
We did have a formidable array of talent within the band. We'd always sort of been sparking off into different directions. It's just really fun trying different stuff. So if you really look back at it, it's an awful lot of different styles in there.
I
I've been listening to the Beatles and probably will be listening to the Beatles till I'm pushing daisies. But the White Album was just one of my favorite records when I was a kid, and also as I got older and as I became a musician, it's still been one of my favorite records.
They were all ready at that point to escape and to try and get their acts together, to be perfectly honest, not to get off their drugs, to get off everything else, to get out of what was happening to them, and spiritually grow.
Keeping company with himself, it could be part of the treatment, John stalked along the shady paths. But George had a way for us.
The Beatles were staying in the same compound that I was staying in, bungalows, and unbelievably fantastic setting. And I remember one morning Paul McCartney coming to the breakfast table playing his acoustic guitar, and he sang Back in the USSR to me, what he had of it. I said, well, you know what you ought to do is talk about all the girls around Russia, you know, the Ukraine girls in Moscow and Georgia and all that kind of stuff, and he did.
It's a really prolific time in their career. They'd been out to India with the Maharishi, and they'd come back with all these songs. There were so many songs, that stuff got left off, you know, that other bands would kill for. Like the song that became Jealous Guy was demoed for the White Album, and they said, no, we'll leave that.
When your day is long and the night.
Personally, I think Automatic for the People is R.E.M's best record, and there's certainly a lot of competition for that slot in their back catalogue.
You're sure you've had enough.
Well, the name Automatic for the People is the slogan of a gentleman who runs a soul food restaurant in Athens, Georgia. And it's when you go in there and you order food, he says automatic. And his slogan outside says Automatic for the People. And for some reason we thought it was really cool. And the fact that it was local, a little touch of home, I think made us feel good about it.
I can't really say that I have a favorite song on the record. I love Man on the Moon. It's still, however many years later, one of my favorite songs to perform live.
Andy Kaufman in the wrestling match.
Andy Kaufman was a really trailblazing comedian and someone who, when I first saw him on television as a 15-year-old, I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew that it was nothing that I'd ever seen before, and I followed him reverently until his death.
Wait, I forgot. What is it? Or
One of the groups that we were hanging out with at the time was Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain was known for putting the word "yeah" into his songs a lot, and one of the things that I think I was doing with Man on the Moon was trying to write a song that had more yes in it than any song that Kurt had written. And I think I succeeded.
We had a really good time making Automatic for the People.
Night swimming.
The thing I remember most was I rented this purple Mustang convertible. And I remember Michael and myself riding up and down the streets of South Beach, blasting the cassette of the record with the roof down and the volume all the way up and singing along and really enjoying it and knowing that we'd made a pretty decent record.
I guess I don't really know how I feel about the record at this point, except that people like it a lot. I'm glad that they do. And I'm honored that it's been chosen to be a part of this program. I mean, that's really awesome.
Up next, the all-singing, all-dancing final part of our countdown as we find out who's made it into the top 10 of the 100 greatest albums. As we count down the 10 albums that set the world alight, left us crying like a baby, or made us just want to strip right down to our socks and underwear. Or maybe that's just him.
When Revolver came out in '66, it was just at the start of what's known as swinging London. England had just won the World Cup, it was a beautiful summer, you know, everything was on and up, and Revolver is an up album.
I think Revolver's such a brilliant album.
Do any of you have plans to record on your own?
We might. No? In fact, we have done, I think. Well, Eleanor Rigby was Paul on his own, and we were just drinking tea.
Tomorrow Never Knows is my favourite track on that album, because as an experimental piece of music, it's up there with Stockhausen and all what's meant to be the best experimental music and classical music.
John in particular always wanted to sound different. I mean, he said, I want to sound as though I'm on the moon.
I think it changed everybody's life. I think it gave music the kick up the backside that it needed.
I mean, my God, that band could construct a chorus and a riff. Everyone can sing Paradise City, can't they? I bet you can. I bet you can do it.
For the most part, none of us lived anywhere. So during the whole making of that record, it was going in at noon, you know, recording your bits, staying there until probably about 11 o'clock at night, and then going out and looking for wherever the best party was going to be. Just drink as hard as you could, and if you were lucky, pick up a girl who would let you sleep on her couch or whatever, and then just, no matter where that was, the next morning, try and figure out some way to hitch a ride to get to the studio. Every single song on that record was a song about something in particular that was going on at the moment. Like Night Train was written because we were living on Night Train because that was the only liquor that we could afford, which, if you know anything about Night Train, it's that Ripple wine that the homeless drunks drink on the street, you know, and it's only like $1.99 a bottle. I just remember when we actually wrote the lyrics to that song, we were walking up Clark Street in Hollywood, and we just started on the night train, you know.
In a way, yeah, it was also a pop album because it had mass appeal, you know, because there were great singles on it and great tunes that anyone could sing, you know, like the opening lick of Sweet Child of Mine, you just hear that, it's a classic.
I hated that song for the longest time. And there's a part in the video where there was something in my way on the floor while we were shooting, and I was so pissed off videoing the song that I remember kicking it clear across the room, and it's in the video. I was definitely not happy, and funnily enough, you know, just to spite me, it turned into our biggest hit.
It was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and it made me realise, you know, that this is what I'm into, me. You know, I'm going to grow my hair, cut my job and get some hair. That's what I decided.
Like a Prayer was more of an adult album. She was growing up, our audience was growing up, she was taking her existing audience with her and bringing a lot of new people on board.
One of the things that is important about that album is on the album sleeve, there's just her midriff. It's her saying, I'm not just a pair of tits, I'm not just a blonde hairdo, there's more to me than that.
Madonna's song, Oh Father, was just that. It was about her father. They'd always had a very strained relationship, and after the death of her mother, he went on to marry their housekeeper. It's really about getting freedom from her father, just sending a message to him, saying that one day realised that you were cruel to me, that, you know, you didn't understand my feelings. And that was probably the most personal song on the album.
She was constantly evolving, constantly changing. She still is. That's the secret of her success. She has the ability, like a chameleon, of just turning herself inside out.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band changed the face of music more than any other album ever. My wife cried when she heard it. It was beautiful. Oh, I loved it. It was so beautiful.
Look back at how sophisticated the lyrics are compared to what preceded them. You know, it's only 3 or 4 years ago that the Beatles were writing She Loves You, great pop song as it was, but getting excited about the fact that they were saying She Loves You instead of I Love You, which was a big deal at the time. And then, you know, just a short amount of time later, they're using this fantastic imagery, you know, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You listen to it and it plays like a cartoon in your head.
I'm not going to get all mythological about it, if you believe that I was sat in a bed sit in Manchester, you know, like the patron saint of British guitar music, you know, because I wasn't. You know, I was writing songs specifically for me. When I wrote Live Forever, I don't think I was even in the band. You know, I think I was a roadie at the time. I suppose the most famous song off the record is Live Forever. I suppose the most inspiring one off it would be Rock and Roll Star. It's actually the one song where I think I've kind of summed it all up for me 10 years ago. I remember finishing that thinking, it's pretty much fucking downhill from here on in, really. Every time some kid will pull you in the street, they always say, how's your new album? And you go, well, it's great. And they go, is it as good as Definitely Maybe? Always. That's the first thing they fucking say to Spotty Herbert. I'm only realising now how special Definitely Maybe is. I thought I'd gone writing albums like that forever, you know. But, you know, you grow up, don't you?
It probably was one of those records that changed the possibilities of how big a record could be in a way.
It was ubiquitous. You couldn't go anywhere on the planet and not hear that for about 20 years. It was the wallpaper of the entire planet.
It's a perfect body of work. It's got a good theme. It's great, fucking brilliant. Pink Floyd, genius.
We wanted to have what's now called a concept album, but each song, each part of Dark Side of Me, if you like, is relevant to one of the stresses and pressures that impinge on us. It's the sort of universal themes that run through it that affect everyone in life. The main concept, I suppose, is madness, the dark side of the moon.
And if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Sid's madness affected all of us.
So, like, if you give them a quick, short, sharp shock, they don't do it again. Dig it.
As things that are relevant to Sid's madness obviously come up in that album.
Right. Do you ever think you're going mad, Roger?
Can I put this down?
We went in the studio and we all got asked to go in and read it to yourself and then just answer it into, just say what it meant to you into a microphone.
I aren't frightened of dying at all, because when you gotta go, you gotta go.
One was, what did you think Dark Side of the Moon was?
There is no dark side in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark.
My first one was, do you think you're mad? And my answer to that was, yes, I've been mad for fucking years.
I've been mad for fucking years. Absolutely years.
It's quite a daunting thought to think I'm swearing in I don't know how many million people's homes.
People have felt duty-bound to attach a mystical element to that record. Somebody came up with this idea that if you play Dark Side of the Moon at the same time as you watch The Wizard of Oz, the two perfectly sync up.
I know nothing about it. It's obviously rubbish.
The Wizard of Oz has fired the imaginations of those youthful adults who have never grown old.
Some mad stoned student spending too much time in his bedroom with his video machine on and too much spliff.
Undoubtedly, he is the king of pop. Regardless of anything that's happened to him, anything along the way that people want to think about him, his music changed the face of the world.
Michael!
It was his time to really show this is what a superstar is made of. And it wasn't just about the music on the album, it was the way he performed.
This is the album which forever changed the music business. With Michael Jackson, you learn that you put out single after single after single from the same record. The airplay becomes a commercial for the album. The albums sell like never before.
Norris McWhirter, the editor of the Guinness Book of Records, had brought a copy along for its latest record breaker.
Michael Jackson's Thriller is now the highest-selling solo album in the history of recorded music.
Michael Jackson's got some really great collaborations on there. It just adds to it, you know. I think seeing Michael Jackson just alone is enough, but to have brilliant collaborations with him is awesome. And did this track with Paul McCartney.
I don't understand the way you think, saying that she's yours, not mine.
Michael and Paul exchange ideas. It was seeing two true masters of the craft collaborating. Rod Temperton, extremely talented individual he is. He was from that funny town in England that I can't remember the name of.
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight.
It was always a very strange twist in the tale that this kid from Cleethorpes ended up as being one of the writers on one of the biggest selling albums of all time.
Yeah, the 90s, they were the only really significant band that really happened for me.
Nevermind was just a great fucking album.
Rock music had just become all about, you know, crazily extended pointless guitar solos, real image over content. Nirvana came along, it's just like a blast of fresh air. There was nothing superfluous. Every single track was amazing on the album.
The cover image of Nevermind is a classic, iconic rock album cover, really.
Well, I didn't realize I was famous until like maybe a couple of years ago. When I was little, I didn't really care that I was an icon, I guess. But now I use it mostly to impress the girls.
One of my good buddies who's a photographer, he got a job to do these kids underwater, and he said, hey, Rick, you know, you want $200 to throw your kid in a drink? And I said, sure. Kurt Cobain actually wanted to shoot a photograph of a woman giving birth underwater. But the people at the record company decided that maybe there could be a compromise.
I have my interpretation of it, and then people have theirs. But I think it's the innocence is leaving.
It's really bizarre when you look at the sleeve today and just think, my God, that's Kurt. Almost about to drown as the money, the pressures of fame and success just seem to seize him and take him into a place that he absolutely did not want to go to.
Here they are, Nirvana.
They'd been a real underground band. Kurt really belonged to the underground and sort of believed passionately in that. Unfortunately, Kurt, he'd written a load of pop anthems on this record, and you know, it just went absolutely ballistic. I don't think like Kurt could really deal with that, because it really wasn't what he was about.
One of the reasons that we're still talking about Nirvana today, over 10 years after Cobain died, is because of the deep emotional impact that Kurt Cobain's voice had on a whole generation.
It's a big record of mine. I listened to that a lot when I was a teenage boy. I mean, that lot, they actually make you sick how good they are. I mean, physically make you sick.
And touch the flame.
Where the Streets Have No Name opens the album, and after that, it's all over. It's a record that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go.
I remember when I was a little kid, the first time I heard about U2, they were on the cover of Time magazine, and the headline was something along the lines of they were the biggest band in the world, basically. And I couldn't believe that. You know, I couldn't believe an Irish band were the biggest band in the world. I was very shocked by that. And I think U2, and particularly with the Joshua Tree, it put the Irish music industry on the map, really.
The black and white photos of them out in that desert locale gave a visual clue to what they were all about. You know, it's an Irish band making what is essentially an American record.
Whatever term you want to call it, like landscape or, you know, or modern Americana or whatever people called it at the time, you know. I think at the heart of it, it was just a band really on top of their game.
So they were 99 of the 100 greatest albums ever made. There's just one question left on everybody's lips.
So what's the number one gonna be? Who I think will win it will be...
God. I haven't got a clue. I really haven't.
I think the number one record will be, and I'm rather hoping it will be, ABBA's Arrival.
Oh, that's a hard question.
I'd like Alan to get in.
I'd like the Beatles to be number one.
Probably Busted or Girls Aloud.
Or a Wings album.
Queen is Dead.
Something like Nirvana's Nevermind is going to be number one.
I don't know, Sgt. Pepper's.
The Doors.
Never mind the Bollocks, or the Sex Pistols.
I definitely think it should be one of the Beatles albums.
It could be Oasis.
I'd vote for Pet Sounds.
Well, they're all wrong, but it finally is time to reveal the greatest album ever, as voted for by Channel 4 viewers. If that's okay with you.
It's one of those records I play over and over and over again.
Just quality. As simple as that. It was just pure quality.
It really sort of set a certain standard, I think. It's very innovative.
It really came roaring out of the speakers when you first put it on.
It is bold and ambitious, but then there's still beautiful, intimate moments.
First time I heard a record, I was in my dressing room, and I remember hearing the keyboard part. I heard it from the dressing room, from the stage was maybe, you know, a quarter of a mile away. And I remember all the musicians kind of looking at each other, and this is really interesting, this is good.
This real anxiety-ridden lead singer who just had this beautiful voice. From that point on, I just went and bought every single Radiohead record, and I became a total Radiohead head.
So tired, bring down the cover.
OK Computer is them really stretching and pushing the boundaries of what they think they're capable of doing and what their audience think they're capable of doing. And it is a classic, brilliant record.
After the Bends, the pressure was on to come up with a follow-up album. The band were asking questions whether they wanted to carry on doing it anymore. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? Do I want to make this my job for life? However, with the success of the Bends and touring the world, they had their own place where they could go and make music. And so OK Computer came out of that, more of a homely environment.
Radiohead really seemed to gel with St Catherine's Court. They were definitely interested in the house, the history of it, the spiritual side. There are a few ghosts there. The whole album does sound as though it's been recorded in a haunted house.
OK Computer's a landmark record. As time goes on, more and more it will be seen as the important record it is. It's complex and it's got layers and it's very ambitious musically.
Doesn't get old the more you listen to it. That's a rare thing to be able to pull off in songwriting. They did it over and over again on that record.
I don't really know that there is a best record ever made, but if OK Computer made it, that would be pretty good.
That you chose, that you chose.